Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video we have my Game Week 23 transfer plans. I have 3 free transfers, 1.1 million in the bank, and I only have Mo Salah as my only Liverpool player. So I definitely have to make use of some free transfers this week. Where I intend to use them, I'll share it in today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and if you do, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well. And before we have a look at my Game Week 23 team, on the screen right now is my Game Week 22 team as it stands. Now, I am recording this before the Sunday games, so there are still maybe half of the games to go, but at least based off of the first night of games, what we've seen so far from Newcastle, Fulham, Liverpool, etc., I'm currently sitting on 58k in the world, so I am 34 points in right now. A couple of players that have returned so far: Robinson 8 points, 2 bonus points for him, very nice there. Salah blanked, unfortunately. So in terms of going for alternative captains, I think Isak also blanked, so I wouldn't have made too much of a loss there. It's mainly Palmer here that I don't think I was as keen on captaining because of the yellow flag. For those of you who went with him despite the yellow flag, you guys obviously have the game to go, so hopefully he's fit for the game. If not, then I think I'll probably have Rodgers off the bench for him as well. So aside from that, aside from Salah and Isak blanking, there is Mateta, the star man of the team. Right now, Foden plus Mateta as compared to, again, Jesus plus Ismail Assar a couple of weeks back. This decision to go with Foden plus Mateta has worked out really, really well. So it continues to pay off, but I think very soon in Game Week 23, just to give a bit of a spoiler, is that Phil Foden might be leaving the team. Right, so as it stands, there's still a couple of games to go, but I'm currently looking like this for Game Week 22. I will post the updated rank in the title of the video, so it may be different from what you're seeing now. The most updated one would be the title. So there we go for Game Week 22, and let's now have a look at my Game Week 23 team. So looking at my team right now without any transfers made, I have 1.1 million in the bank and 3 free transfers. The main thing sticking out to me right now is how I only have one Liverpool player in Mo Salah. I desperately need to start bringing in Liverpool players, firstly because this Ipswich game is a pretty decent game for them, but not only that, in Game Week 24 it's a double, and in Game Week 25 it's Wolves as well. So this is the start of a very good fixture run for Liverpool, obviously bearing in mind that it is also a very tight schedule for them across these next 3 game weeks. There will be Champions League games, FA Cup games slot in between these games as well. So I do have to kind of consider, in terms of the minutes for Liverpool players, which one I want to bring in. And as we go along in the different positions, I will kind of share my thoughts. So going in goal first with Verbruggen here. This week in the goalkeeper position, I have no issues at all. It's Verbruggen against Everton at home. And in any case, there's also Flecken against Crystal Palace away. So keeper-wise, no real transfers need to be used there. In terms of the defense, it's Hall, Robinson, and Gabriel. Now, Hall and Gabriel have perfectly fine fixtures. I'm happy enough to have them. Hall, obviously the player that I just brought in Game Week 22, because of the strong rumors at that point that Saliba was going to miss out. It eventually did turn out that he was going to miss out because of a hamstring strain. So as of now, the decision to bring Hall in is already paid off in terms of getting 4 extra points than Saliba in Game Week 22. But now in Game Week 23, it's a perfectly nice fixture for him. But not only that, I do think my impression of Newcastle has not really changed too much after that Bournemouth kind of thumping. I still do think they are a very good team. Once in a while, there will be blips, and that is obviously one of the first few games they've lost in quite a while. But I think this is the fixture for them to bounce back. If there's any game that you want Newcastle to come back in, this is a perfect fixture. So Hall against Southampton away, happy enough to have him. Same for Gabriel. Robinson here as the 3rd defender spot. I think Manchester United at home is an alright fixture for Robinson. He's obviously coming off a 8-pointer, and he did get 2 bonus points against Leicester. Fulham are still a very strong defense, and there's every chance they could keep a clean sheet against United, but ideally I would want someone else in this spot. So I think in terms of the 3rd defender spot, bringing Trent Alexander-Arnold in is a real priority for me, and I don't think I will want to sell Robinson because Lewis is on the bench there as my 4th defender, and he is a player that I think going forward I don't really want in my team. namely because his minutes aren't secure, but also in that Manchester City go on a very bad run of fixtures starting from game week 23. So Lewis is the one on the chopping block. Robinson probably drops down to the bench if I do make the move to sell Lewis for Trent Alexander-Arnold. And then in midfield, I have Rodgers, Foden, Salah, and Palmer. So going off the basis right now that as of recording, let's assume that Palmer is fine against Man City away. So based off of that, I will still start Palmer in game week 23. Salah has Ipswich at home. And then there's Rodgers against West Ham. It's a great fixture for him. Aston Villa coming off a very strong result against Arsenal. So the Foden position here is really the only spot that I'm happy enough to sell, downgrade him, to fund getting Lewis up to Trent Alexander-Arnold. So Foden on the chopping block, Lewis also on the chopping block. And I will discuss the permutations of transfers that I have in the next section. But the last midfield that I have is Ahmad on the bench against Fulham. Now, I'm not super comfortable benching Ahmad. And obviously, when I look at the forward positions, I'm also pretty happy with most of them. Southampton for Isak and Brentford for Mateta. So I think maybe there's a case to drop Jackson and then start Ahmad instead. We'll see what happens. But I think this also plays into my mind in terms of the Foden replacement. I don't necessarily have to go for someone with great fixtures right now in game week 23. And immediately the player that comes to mind is someone like a Kluivert, where right now in game week 23 he will be playing Nottingham Forest. In 24 it's also tricky for him, but from game week 25 onwards it gets really good. So in the meantime, I could just go Foden to Kluivert and then drop him down to the bench. Ahmad starts for 23 and 24 instead. That's one of the permutations, but I think it's handy enough just to have a good 8th attacker as Ahmad on the bench right now. So there's a lot of permutations that I could go with my transfers in game week 23. So let's now have a look at the Fantasy Football Hub transfer tinkering tool to share with you guys what I intend to do with my team for game week 23. So this is my team exactly as shown in the graphic just now, and I'm going to tinker around with a couple of permutations that are on my mind. So the first move that I think is pretty much locked in is Rico Lewis to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I don't think a couple weeks back that I would have been as sure about this move as I am now, but it's simply because the minutes for Trent recently have looked good in the Premier League. In terms of the past 2 games, he started both. He's had good minutes in both as well. And in terms of the predictions for minutes for him, looking ahead, I think over game week 23 all the way to 25, there will be 4 games for him. And I think it's more likely that he will probably start in 23, start both of the double in 24. Currently, that's my own prediction. And then in game week 25 against Wolves, he might get a bit of a rest because it's very close by the second game for game week 24 and also the game week 25 game against Wolves. So I do think like he could get a rest against Wolves in 25, but against Everton in game week 24, which is the second game to double, I think it's more likely he starts. So because right now my predictions of his minutes is high enough that I think I should get him in game week 23 right now, I do have to find funds to get Trent. So one of the main ways, as I've said just now, is selling Foden. I'm honestly not too keen on selling any other player in my team, which is a great position to be in. And Foden, selling him just makes quite a bit of sense because it's Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool and Spurs, and then Nottingham Forest. So that is honestly quite a bad fixture run from now all the way until game week 28. So Foden's on the chopping block, and I'll start off firstly with, I guess, one of the main replacements that came up first, but I think now he's not as high up on my list, but I think it's worth mentioning first, and I think it's Luis Diaz. Now, the reason why I think I've kind of removed him as an option for myself is Darwin Núñez now looks pretty good after the Brentford game, and maybe he could get a few starts in the next few game weeks if he keeps up this form, which is not good for Luis Diaz because he currently occupies the number 9 spot quite a bit. You could argue that maybe Luis Diaz moves to the left, but Gakpo is also a player that has been doing pretty well on the left as well. So, long story short is to say that I think Luis Diaz's minutes moving forward are not really in a good place. So I'm not willing to take that risk and move for someone like him right now. even though he has that double in game week 24. So in terms of getting a Liverpool triple up for game week 24, that is still one of my main priorities, but I no longer think that it is Trent plus Salah plus Luis Diaz as the best Liverpool triple up. Neither do I think that getting Van Dijk is the way for game week 24. So this is a bit of a spoiler for one of the videos that I have coming up next week for Game Week 23 content, where we'll be sharing with you guys my strategy, my chip strategy moving forward. And a bit of a big spoiler is that I think right now I am 60% likely to use the assistant manager chip in Game Week 24 on Arne's slot. And it's simply because I think he is the best third Liverpool asset to own for that double. But not only that, in the chip strategy video that I have planned, I will also elaborate on the fixtures in Game Week 25 and 26, where I do want to target a couple of table bonus teams in those 2 game weeks as well, right? So I did mention a lot in the deadline streams that I've had recently that I want to try and target table bonus. I've had a look at the 25 and 26 fixtures as compared to future kind of game weeks where I think I might be having the assistant manager chip activated, which is 36 to 38. So 36 would be a double, and then 37, 38 would be the single game weeks that you target table bonus. I've compared 37 and 38 against 25 and 26. I've also had a look at 31 and 32 in comparison to all these game weeks as well. And right now, I think in terms of table bonus, targeting table bonus teams, 25 and 26 is pretty good. So overall, if I am to activate the assistant manager chip in game week 24, I do think like I don't have to go for a Liverpool player here. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. So around the similar price range, one of the players that definitely comes to mind is Anthony Gordon. Now I know Newcastle are coming off a thumping against Bournemouth, but my impression of Anthony Gordon is still that he played a very good game in that game. I do think like Newcastle was slightly unlucky to have lost by that kind of a margin. They did dominate large parts of the first half after they equalized as well. But I do think like against Southampton here, again, I do think they will bounce back. I think Gordon has always been the player that I wanted to replace Foden with. Now, you do see here that it is minus 0.2. So if I am to go for Gordon, then that would cause me to have to make one more transfer. So that could come in different areas. I could downgrade Flecken, for example, to a 4.0 million keeper, and that would be all 3 of my transfers used up. But Gordon is still one of the main replacements that I have in my mind right now. Other players that I could go for if I don't go for Anthony Gordon, it's also Mbeumo, but Mbeumo is also a player that would cause me to have to make that third transfer to downgrade Flecken so that I can free up funds, because he is also at 7.8, so minus 0.3, I will have to find funds by downgrading Flecken. So in terms of replacements around that price bracket, it's really Gordon and Mbeumo that I'm looking at. Gordon, as I've said just now, starts off with Southampton as a good fixture, but he was always a player I had in mind. And Mbeumo is a player that's slightly different in that I think he goes on a very good fixture run from game week 25 onwards. You could argue that even in game week 24 against Spurs, it's a good enough fixture for him. So I do think Mbeumo in game week 23 as an entry point for him. To bring him in early, he will have Crystal Palace, Tottenham and West Ham in the next 3. But after that, it's Leicester, Everton, Villa. It looks pretty good for Mbeumo. And he's a player that after I've sold has done really well. I really don't mind bringing him back into the team. I know what he offers as well. And let's talk about the last player that I have right now high up my list too, which is Kluivert. So obviously, this could sound a bit knee-jerky. Semenyo was usually the player that we target in terms of midfielders for Bournemouth. But one of the main reasons why I'm looking at Kluivert is because it would allow me to save that last transfer. I don't have to use it to, sell Flecken to free up funds. And I will be able to use that extra transfer that I have saved up on assistant manager transfers if I intend to sell Arne's slot. If I go for Arne's slot in game week 24 and I want to target table bonus teams from 25 and 26, I need to save up transfers. So I do think like by going with Clivert here, I don't necessarily have to start him. I can very well drop him down to the bench and play Ahmad instead. Obviously, now that I've brought Trent in as well, he comes in here. So the team could look something like this for Game Week 23. And Clivert would really come into the starting 11 from Game Week 25 onwards when they have Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Spurs, Brentford in the next few. The run is really good for Bournemouth. And I think one of the main reasons why I'm considering him now is not so much knee-jerky in terms of, trying to bring in a player that has done well and chasing his points, but more that he's firstly on penalties. Bournemouth are a very strong attacking side. They're on good form as well. And the fixtures will start to look very good for them from Game Week 25. So I bring him in early, and then I drop him down to the bench. 23, I play Ahmad. 24, I also play Ahmad against Crystal Palace here. Clivert will be on the bench because he has Liverpool in Game Week 24. And then come Game Week 25, you will see that I can very well just bring Clivert in for Ahmad when he has Spurs away. So I do think when I look at the rotation as well as when I can bring Clivert into my team, I don't mind it because Ahmad being the 8th attacker allows me that kind of a rotation. So I'll go back again to Game Week 23 here. And as I've said, Clivert is also a player that I'm looking at in terms of Foden replacements. So really 3 main replacements. I think Gordon, Mbumo and Clivert are up my list. There's obviously lots of other good midfielders I could go for, but right now these are the 3 I'm considering. In UEFA Champions League games moving forward, may also kind of change my mind as to players that I want to target. So for now, this is how it's looking like. Let me know what you guys think in terms of my transfer plans, my chip strategy that I've set so far, and do keep a lookout for the chip strategy video that I will be having in the later part of this week to share with you guys a more elaborate description of why I intend to use the assistant manager chip in Game Week 24, but also some other weeks that I'm looking at and different strategies I am considering as well. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye bye.